How are you? Nice. Okay. All right. So today we wanted to talk about our big 3 zodiac placements. So that would be your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. The reason I wanted to talk about this is because there's been like a new age movement going on where people are just more interested in astrology overall. And Khairah has never really gotten into that until she started living with me. And I think that it's about time we had a discussion about it.
I'm not ready.
You are ready. This is going to be fun. All right. So to start off with, I'm just going to go straight into it. My sun sign is in Leo. Obviously, you can tell. So one thing, I wanted to say this a while ago, and we talked about it a little bit beforehand, but I think that people have a huge misconception about Leos and how they act. So people like to say that we're showboaty or we're performative or like we're the center of attention on purpose and shit like that. I don't think that's an accurate assessment of how Leos behave. We're just naturally very confident, or it's easy to appear confident, and people are attracted to that. It's not like we have to try very hard, and I hate to sound showboaty about it, but it's just...
That's your Leo coming out.
That's my Leo coming out. I don't feel like I have to do anything extra to be confident. That is just my natural state. Everything else is me overthinking.
I think that what it is that you have an attracting nature, and so because people are so attracted from the outside looking in, we see it as showboaty, because it's like, how do you gain all that attention? Why am I drawn to you? Why do you grab my attention the way that you do? I can't help but look at you.
Right.
I can't help but look at your space. And because we're the outside looking in, because you have that charisma, then it is translated the only way that we as outsiders know how to translate it, if that makes sense. So because we don't see it as something that you just naturally should have, because we may lack it to a certain extent, then it's like, well, it has to be this way because that's the only way that I can explain it in a way that makes sense to everybody.
Exactly. They're projecting. Good way to put that. I like that. That was eloquent.
I'm an English major.
Right, no,
that's the only reason I got words like that. But go ahead.
No, I don't think I had anything else to say about that. I like that we summed that up pretty quickly. I did want to talk about how that manifests in my life specifically. So I actually have a lot of Leos in my family. I was fortunate enough that on my dad's side, there's 8 of us that were all born within a 2-week time span at the beginning of August, right? It's very exciting. And then on my mom's side, my cousin Kix, who was like my favorite cousin growing up, he's a July Leo. They're very different. We'll get into that in a different episode. But I was fortunate enough to have a lot of Leo energy in my family, so I was able to see different aspects of that. So my aunt, I forgot to say that. But she's on my dad's side. She's in that group. So I got to see shy Leos. I got to see, reserved but not quite shy Leos, introverted, extroverted, the whole gauntlet. And I got to find out kind of how I wanted to portray my Leoness. Like when I really step into being the lion and all that, I know exactly how I want to do it.
And I think every Leo step into their lioness aura in a different way. So for example, my oldest brother, Lil Jr., he's Leo, an August Leo, but he's very, very calm unless you make him mad, so don't do that. But he's very calm and very logic natured. He's really laid back, but he still has that charisma where you just want to be around him. You like his space, all of that. And he kind of just easily settled into that, which is kind of weird because our dad, he's a Capricorn. But I guess that's where that easygoing nature kind of came from, because he had that earth sign to kind of balance his heatedness. So as he grew up, he knew how to make that balance for himself.
That makes sense. Yeah, because my mom is a Sagittarius and my dad's a Gemini, so I had one who was always on and one who was always in the background. And I like to think I found a good middle ground. If you talk to me in person, or like if we're around a group of people, I'm probably not going to say much. But if you talk to me one-on-one, I have a lot to say. And I think that, yeah, that works for me.
And I like, for me, when I first met Kaylyn, she definitely did have that thing that just pulled you in and be like, I like what you have to say, or I feel like you have something to say, so I'm waiting for you to say something. Because a lot of times she wouldn't say stuff, but I always felt like she had something to say, and she had something worth saying, and maybe that was just her air drawing it in. And I always wanted to have a conversation with her. And then once we started having conversations, it just kind of was like, oh, I like what you said. And because it would be very limited in the space that we were in, which would be another topic.
Another.
But it would be very limited in the space that we were in. And so then we'd be like, oh, I like what you said about that. And so we would just elaborate on it. But she had that thing that drew you in, that made you feel like, hey, I want to come up and talk to you. Now, don't make her mad. She does. Don't let the nice persona.
Don't let it fool you.
Don't let it fool you, because you will get burned. Like, it's not just sting. It will burn.
Yeah, I can be an explosive kind of angry, but we'll get into that.
I can be. Anyway.
I can be. Yeah, no, listen. We'll get into that, because I can be a cool, calculated kind of angry, and that's the one you really got to be afraid of. But the explosive angry is something. No, you haven't. That's something we'll get into later with my rising sign. So, Khairah, tell us a little. Oh, also, we didn't say our names. I'm Kaylyn.
I'm Khairah.
But yeah, Khairah, go ahead and tell us about your sun sign.
So my sun sign is Virgo, which is why we have a good balance, because I am earth and she is fire. And that's probably why we became best friends so quickly, because we were kind of just compatible in that way.
Yeah.
But as Kaylyn mentioned earlier, I started like learning more about my signs and spirituality and all of that when I started living with her. So the way that I work, I have to write things down when I start learning it. So I bought a whole notebook and everything. And although I haven't gotten a chance to go completely in depth in everything or that I want to get into, I did get a little bit of research as far as what my sign is. So as it reads, as I wrote, the Virgo sign symbolizes servanthood, sacrifice, and outstanding care for their loved ones in their lives. Those who were born as a Virgo are compassionate, relationship-focused individuals. They have a lot of love to give and hold incredibly high standards, which I do, for themselves, as well as they are also incredibly concerned with the status of their relationships and public perception. I'm very uncomfortable with saying the public perception part.
Why?
I don't know. It kind of makes me feel conceited and maybe not authentic if I'm concerned about what other people or how I'm perceived. And I know sometimes I definitely do that a lot, because I'm like, oh, I don't want people to think I'm this way. And that's not necessarily a bad thing, but I'm looking at it in a bad way, and that's a problem, because I do that all the time. Obviously that makes sense, but with reading it that way, it makes it seem like, oh, I want people to know that I'm a nice person, so I'm never gonna do things bad in front of anybody else, so they don't think that I'm, not what I want them to believe me to be. And that's not how I am. And so I am very conscious of other people's feelings, and then not wanting to have any miscommunication. And so that's where like the public perception comes into play, because if you say something, I'm like, oh, maybe I should say this, but I don't want them to think that I think that they ugly or something like that. That's the case. It's more like, I want to make sure they know that piece of hair is actually sticking out. The hair still look good, but maybe if they just, slide that to the side or something like that.
See, yeah, that's your Virgo attention to detail, but you're also probably not by choice. Like, somebody probably beat it into you, unfortunately, but that's you being aware of other people's feelings in the situation. Because, everybody is not going to take I don't know, I don't want to call it critical behavior, because that sounds like a bad thing, but we both do it, so I don't see it as a bad thing. But that's just like, oh, that thing is out of place, it needs to be fixed. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I think out of everything that I read, that was the thing that made me the most uncomfortable, but only because of the way that I guess perceived it.
Yeah.
But everything else pretty much is kind of spot on, because I don't like being put in a box, but
that's funny.
it kind of makes sense, because I am I don't like to say I'm a servanthood type of person, but I am definitely very, very caring. I have a lot of siblings, so there's 8 of us, and I'm technically the 3rd oldest. I have a twin brother. He's a boy, before you ask.
Right.
And he's 7 minutes older, and so I'm technically the 3rd oldest, and so that just being a big sister and kind of motherly to my younger siblings came naturally to me. And so, and I definitely do have a lot of high standards. I asked my very short list of interests that I've talked to, guys that I've talked to, didn't last very long, because I do hold high standards, but for good reasons. And it's not something where you have to be this certain type of thing or anything like that. It's more so about morals and character, and that's my biggest thing.
Yeah, that's a good thing.
And then reading further, it was saying that Virgos take all responsibility very seriously, and often bring a wonderful combo of creativity and logical thinking to their projects, which they always have on the go. So I think I'm not sure about being creative and logical. I don't think I'm logical all the time, but
no one is.
Yeah, but I am very responsible, so I take my responsibilities very seriously. I don't ever like being irresponsible. That definitely bothers me a lot. If I can't take responsibility for anything that I've done, and I think has to do with my sign, but also other stuff that I've been around where I've seen where people weren't taking responsibility, and to me it just didn't make sense.
Yeah, learned behavior. Yeah.
And I'm like, well, that's stupid. You should take responsibility for that. So I'm gonna make sure that I take responsibility for anything that I have part in, because in my mind, no matter what position you're in a situation, there is some type of responsibility that you have
to be taken.
So I may overdo it, but that's just that. And then I got a little bit left, and then I promise I'm done.
Okay.
So it says Virgos have a great memory and are known for their expertise in organization. While this can sometimes be to a fault when they are matched up with the messier signs like Pisces or Sagittarius, it means that they are clean, detail-oriented people that get the job done right the first time. I don't know. I wrote that in a different color because that also made me uncomfortable, because I felt like it was putting me in the box again. And also because I don't think that I fit into the whole organization part. I think that I can be very organized in certain ways, but I have a very disorganized, a chaotic organization pattern, if that makes sense. I do have to write everything down. I do have to have separate notebooks for certain things. The subjects cannot be mixed. I have to have spaces if I have to jump to something else.
Right.
But I'm also a writer, so I don't write in order. I will open up separate pages just so I have everything that I'm writing in its chaotic way in different areas, so then I can put it back together at the end.
I was going to say, it's organized for you. That's
right.
What's most important. Yeah, it may not be visually organized, but you know exactly what's going on.
Right. And typically in my space, a lot of times it can be very chaotic, but it's a organized mess is what we like to call it in my family.
Yeah.
So I know exactly where everything is. Everything does have a place, and sometimes I will have to put it in place. I do get very, very anxious when my stuff is not organized the way that I want it to be, but sometimes I don't. While I am anxious with it not being right, I also am not inclined to feel it necessary to fix it.
Okay. I was gonna say, man, I was literally just about to call you out. I was about to say, that's so funny. You were about to say, I feel like they put me in a box about organization, but I feel like things need to be fixed. Yeah, that's
I do feel like things need to be fixed, but I'm like, but then like I don't. Once I get to like my breaking point, sometimes it may last like a day or two, and then I'll be like, okay, this just has to get done, and I can't do anything else until that's fixed. And I guess that's where that part comes in. Yeah. But sometimes it can stay disorganized for a while.
And I'm glad that you said that you feel like that description alone puts you in a box, because that's why the other signs are so important. They kind of help round out your personality instead of squaring you in. Yeah. So just to kind of not segue but interrupt that particular flow of thought, I want to actually explain what sun signs are for people that don't know. So according to astrology42.com, the sun sign is your positive traits and what makes your soul, your ego, and your basic needs make more sense to you. So it's basically, it calls it the core ingredient that goes into making up our personality. So the way that you portray yourself to others. This may not necessarily be the way that you could perceive yourself, like Khairah, but it could be the way that other people perceive you, like how she explained for me. With that being said, let's move on to our moon sign, because I think that's really important to go with exactly why you're tending to be a little bit more disorganized. So for me, my moon sign is in Virgo, which is funny because her sun sign is Virgo. It's part of why we get along. You'll figure out more why later. But I find that comes out in like the way that I think about things. So for me, I need to clean my room to think things out. So while I'm cleaning, I'm thinking. Or I need to take time, or like when I was in high school, my science notebook had to be yellow, my math had to be red, so on and so forth. Like all those things had to be color coordinated. I needed to have a very specific way. Khairah will tell you, I organize things in the perfect way to continue living the way. No,
what she means to say, because she's trying to sugarcoat it. Because I said it before, and she called herself beat me to it.
I didn't want to try to say it. Stop.
No, she finds the best way, she optimizes organization to be the laziest. I have never seen anybody so organized to make sure that they can be the laziest, to have the least amount of thought or movement into something else or into an idea. I was like, it takes a lot of intelligence to be able to do something like that. To be so organized that you find the best way to be lazy. So so she'll play like Animal Crossing, for example.
Oh my God.
She has a notebook of what she needs to do, how she needs to breed this plant with this plant to get the color that she wants, and she knows she needs to do this for this amount of days to get this and to get that, and that's so she doesn't have to test trial it, so it will take longer to do that.
I don't want to figure it out.
And I sat there and I said, you're literally organizing so you can find the best way to be lazy, aren't you? She was like, yeah,
pretty much.
And I was like, I have never seen that before.
Because think about it, if my mind is a Virgo but my outsides are a Leo, I want to do all the work in as short a time as possible so that I can sleep the rest of the day. Yeah, that makes sense.
She does that.
I sleep a lot, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'm a cat. Yeah.
Oh my god.
And just in day-to-day life, I kind of find that, to backtrack a little bit, I find that being a Virgo moon kind of combats me being a Leo in some ways. Like we both admitted earlier that I tend to not talk in larger groups because I'm watching, I'm analyzing, I'm seeing what the dynamic of the group is and like how I want to fit in. And not only that, but like, do I even want to try to fit in? You know what I mean? Things like that. Because I can be the center of attention if I want to, or I can just sit and watch.
And that's fair. She definitely does that.
right. I think that's a good time to segue. So what is your moon sign?
Well, before we get to my moon sign, there is one thing I wanted to say that you said about being a Virgo that does apply to me.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it'll actually come back up, but I do pace the floor a lot to organize my mind. So while she habitually cleans to think, I habitually pace and walk the floor to do that. And then I also what was it that you said? Anyway, I can't remember. My sun, right, moon?
Yes.
Moon sign is Sagittarius, which apparently is the reason why I'm so disorganized in my organization.
Yeah.
Which apparently a Sagittarius is fire. Most of my information I'm getting from Kaylyn because I didn't get that in depth yet. I kind of fell off track, but we're not gonna talk about that.
Not yet.
But I don't know all of the details or in and outs of what it means to be a Sagittarius, so that's where Kaylyn will have to fill you in a little bit, and then I can analyze from there.
Okay, that's interesting. So what I pulled up says that Moon in Sagittarius, they're people who are on a mission and can't be held back by outdated relationships or conventions. And you did say you can't let relationships don't hold you back. You admitted that. And then it says your comfort zone encompasses a home and work life that's fast-paced, meaningful, and or varied. I think that makes sense because she'll tell you Khairah's an editor, but I think part of why editing might be so appealing on like a large scale reason is because it opens the door to have time to do so much other stuff. You're not sitting at a table doing a 9 to 5, excuse me. You're not doing a 9 to 5. You're not worried about like, oh, I have to do this by this time necessarily. Like, yes, there are deadlines for editing, but for the most part, that is just creative freedom. You can talk to the author and be like, I need a little bit more time. I had to get in depth with this part. That's freedom right there. That gives you enough time to say, like, let's say later on down the line when you're married and you have kids or whatever, if you want to go take your kids on a field trip in the middle of the day just because, you can absolutely do that. The book can wait. You know what I mean? Yeah.
And I think that was one of the reasons why it was so appealing to do that and do it on my own as opposed to working for a publishing company, is because I was thinking specifically about that type of stuff. And anybody else who knows me, I analyze everything and I think about everything in the future.
Yeah.
This is not sounding good.
It sounds very Virgo of you.
I think about everything in the future. That's why you laugh at me whenever I talk about this stuff.
Yes.
But damn, I didn't realize that until now.
That's why we're talking about it. Hey, discussion time.
But I analyze everything. I think about things in the most logical way. I think about how it can be, or how it can best benefit me or be the most useful. I hate to buy or hate to have useless things. I hate to have things just for the sake of it having a name or having a certain price. It has to be cheap. It also has to be usable, and it has to be worth my time in the future. So I have to be able to use it more than once. And so with that being said, as far as when I was thinking about editing and all of that, I was like, okay, I want something where I can still work and be independent, but also where it gives me freedom for being a parent when that time does come. No, I don't have kids right now.
You're not old enough yet.
I'm old.
No, you're not. I knew you were gonna say that. You're not old enough yet.
But what else did it say about?
So it says the moon in Sagittarius has a mission and can't be held back by outdated relationships or conventions. And I skipped ahead. Your comfort zone encompasses a home and work life that's fast-paced and meaningful and varied.
Well, that explains why I get bored with a lot of stuff very easily. Yeah. I'm not trying to say I'm the smartest person or that I have high level of intelligence or anything like that. I just know that I tend to pick up stuff easily sometimes, and then I immediately get bored with it. And so then sometimes I don't feel like I'm being challenged enough. And I think that's where that comes in. It's like, I don't necessarily always want to be challenged, and sometimes I do like to be lazy, but I do get restless.
Yeah.
And that makes me, honestly, it does make me depressed. And because it's like, it's not something where I can redo it, fix it up, or anything like that. It's not something where I need to have stuff that I can reorganize, that I can work on, or whatever it may be, or something that doesn't always come so easy. I love learning new stuff. I absolutely love learning. But if I start to get bored, I have to take a break from it. And with having a normal 9-to-5 job, you can't do that. And then I tend to get irritated really fast when it comes to that point. Even with jobs that I've had in the past, I learned the stuff almost within a month that people took longer to learn. And then after that month was over, I'm like, I can't do this no more.
Right.
This is stupid. I started losing patience with, like, I worked in customer service for a long time, so I would lose patience with, like, customers because I felt like they were asking me stupid questions. I wasn't rude, but I was internally getting frustrated.
Yeah.
And it wasn't their fault. It was just that I was starting to get restless. I felt like I wasn't doing enough. So I guess that's where that fast-paced thing comes in.
Yep, literally, it said, I didn't read this part, but a different website says the urge for freedom is very strong and can make you restless at times. And I didn't even have to say that for you to explain it. So I think that's
interesting,
right? You just like the feeling of being stuck in any place for too long and need variety in your environment. And all of that is facts. I was gonna say, all of that is solid facts.
And I definitely, so what's interesting, it says you may decorate your home in an eclectic way or surround yourself with objects that remind you of places you would like to be. Another thing that people who know me know, or that they would know about me, is that I love antique type of things. I do have an old soul, or so I'm told. And I really like whimsical and antique stuff, and my style or how I would decorate my home does not match at all. But I would love it.
I would say it'd be comfortable.
And it will have so much different things that comes from probably different eras or different times, or have completely different styles in that time. But I'm okay with that. But I guess that's where that disorganization comes from, as far as me having the eclectic style, because it's so random. That's where that interferes or combats with my organization, even though I just said organization like 5 times in the stuff that I do. Yeah, man, it's chaotic.
Like it's chaotic but organized for you, and I think that's what makes the most sense. Like, it doesn't have to make sense to everybody else as long as you understand that it's organized. And then if you really pay attention and you get to know, like, I can see how you organize stuff, you know what I'm saying? But I've also gotten to spend quite a bit of time with you at this point. So I feel like if you just spend time with somebody who looks disorganized and they're not truly disorganized, like a pack rat or something, then you'll start to see the patterns of organization appear. Yeah. One of my favorite examples of that, actually, before we segue into explaining moon signs, it was a picture, or it was like a thread on Twitter, not like a full like joke by joke thread, but it was like a picture thread, and someone was like, I asked my boyfriend if he had a paperclip, and he goes, in my room on the floor, the left corner of the dresser. The room is a complete mess, but there's that bright yellow paperclip exactly where he said it was, because he knows what the mess is, organized as. It's only messy to people on the outside.
I do want to make something clear. My room isn't messy.
Never messy. No.
So it's not messy, but it doesn't have, like, I guess, the neat, stacked, organized look to a certain extent. Kaylyn has said that every time she came in my room, it looked different.
I was gonna say, she hasn't found the perfect feng shui flow yet. She's finding the energy.
I'm gonna be honest, I don't think that will ever happen, because I get bored with it very, very fast. And I'm like,
that's that sad restlessness.
Okay, no. And I've done it so many times. I was like, I'll look around, my room have just been cleaned. I'm like, I gotta reorganize. And Kaylyn look at me and just like, really? And I can't help it. I have to redo stuff and make it new for me in my mind, because sometimes it makes me feel like I have more space.
And I'm only looking at you crazy like that because of how often you do it. Like, I'll definitely do that 2-3 times out the year, but you do it like once a week, and that's funny about it. I know, and that's the beautiful part.
I'm already feeling like I gotta reorganize the room now, and I just moved stuff around.
And it's Tuesday. All right. So to explain real brief what the moon sign is explained as, according to astrostyle.com, it's one of the most important pieces of your astrological chart. The moon shapes your emotions and your soul. So basically, your what helps you feel emotionally secure and what your deepest needs are. So let's say that, okay, for me being a Leo, it might seem like I need to be the center of attention, but what I really need is some calm, quiet time to organize and to be able to analyze things, to be analyzed. That's what my deepest need is. And it also says that, let's say that if you're a fire sign, but you have like an earth moon, your aggressive nature will be toned down by the earth moon. And I think that's very apparent in myself. I've met Leos that have, like fire moons, completely different people, completely different. I think that the earth that I have as my moon sign is still kind of, it's not the calmest.
What you trying to say?
No. I'm dead. I love how your voice changed. I'm saying that if I had a Taurus moon, I would probably be like.
But Taurus isn't Earth.
Yes, they are.
Really?
Yep. It's Taurus, Capricorn, and Virgo.
Damn, that's
right.
fucked up.
I know, right? If I was a Capricorn, I feel like I would be way more showboaty and be more arrogant. If I was a Taurus, I would be way too laid back and I would be obsessed with food. These are all stereotypes, by the way. But because I'm a Virgo, I'm obsessed with organizing. So that's my stereotype joke for the day. All right. Yeah, I think that's all I had to say about moon signs. You got any more to add?
No, I just feel like I talked about me a lot.
That's a good thing, though.
No, but
you need some outlets.
But you didn't talk about you a lot. Okay. You kind of was like, short period. Okay, I'm done. I'm like, all right. I'm going on a tangent.
I don't have a tangent. Let me think. Okay, one of my least favorite things about learning, I mean, it helped me a lot because I was really struggling like 2-3 years ago trying to learn who I was. And like, that's really all astrology is. It's not, there are plenty of people who, air quotes, don't believe in it, but it's not necessarily something to believe in. It just helps people figure out who they are a little bit better. And it's not cut and dried. A lot of these things are really like surface level or whatever, but for me that helped because hearing that I'm a Leo and I'm supposed to be outgoing, like, made me feel like I was put in a box, like Khairah said. But then hearing that Virgos are calmer, quieter, more secluded, they're the hermit of the tarot, if anybody knows tarot. I tend to stay in my room. I might make a lot of noise, I might be cussing and yelling while I'm in here, I might get drunk and dance, but at the end of the day, I'm staying in my own space where I'm most comfortable. So to backtrack, when 2-3 years ago, before I knew any of this, I was constantly conflicted, like constantly dealing with people are expecting me to be like this, or I was like this in high school, so I need to keep doing it like this, or like I'm not comfortable doing this, I need to go recharge. Like, I went to a party with one of my friends that I met at massage school, and all of her friends and like her family or whatever were up in the front room playing games. They're all loud, they're drinking, they're having a great time. I'm in the back room on the bed playing games on my iPad. I'm having a great time, but I wanted to be by myself at that party. Or when I was in high school, we threw a surprise party for one of my friends, and eventually I just had to separate and go sit on the stairs. I wasn't in a bad mood or anything like that. I just ran out of energy. And I think that for me was the easiest, or not easiest, it was the best part about finding out about astrology, because now I can say, oh, it just gave me a reason to pay attention to when my social battery was running out, or like it was easier to define, like, people, it's a more recent trend for people to pay attention to microaggressions and shit like that. But people used to say, oh, you're so OCD, you have to do it, blah 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 blah. It's not OCD, that's an actual disorder that people have to deal with. It's an idiosyncrasy that's exacerbated by my moon sign, in my opinion. And yeah, so that was my diatribe about me.
Nice.
Yay.
That was really cool. That had me thinking about other stuff. I hate that I'm doing this.
No, it's okay.
Oh my god.
Yeah,
I'm like, okay, so this is gonna present me in a way that this is gonna really present me in a way that's kind of different than what I feel like. Because if you meet me or you see me, and I think Kaylyn can attest to that I am a very shy person in public. Once you get to know me, I don't shut up. But once you get to know me, but I do tend to blend into the background a lot. And that's purely by choice because that's what makes me comfortable. I don't like parties, and that made me feel out of place for a long time because of my age. So I'm old, but I'm technically not that old.
Not old.
And I'm still in my 20s. I'm 25.
You're literally mid-20s. Yeah, man, you're not old.
But I've been doing that since I was 19. I learned from a very young age. I went to a party when I was 18 with a couple of my college friends. Hated it. Like 30 minutes in, and I was like, it wasn't even 30 minutes. It was 10 minutes, but I stayed for 30 minutes because I wanted to be fair. I was ready to go. I was like, we stayed for 30 minutes. I gave her extra time to be here. It's time to go. I was really like, I just did not like it. Yeah. I hate it.
Yeah.
And people were like, come on, you're gonna regret that when you get older and blah blah blah. And I'm like, I don't think so. I paced in the dark, in the complete darkness. People think I'm weird. Kaylyn's parents think I'm weird because her dad came in the other day and was like, you really can't see in the dark, huh? And I was like, yeah, I like to pace in the dark.
So that's what happens when normal people have opinions.
It keeps me very, very, it makes me feel like I'm isolated, which makes me feel comfortable. That sounds because she's a hermit. Really bad.
The Virgos are the hermits of the tarot. That makes perfect sense.
But when she was talking about that, I completely forgot about that. And I actually didn't learn that from the stuff that I've read about being a Virgo. And that's absolutely true. I do it all the time. But if you look at my twin, he's the complete opposite.
Ooh, no, stop. We're not going to get into male Virgos today. That is a whole episode on its own. They're so different. Different.
But based on the generic information that is given, it shouldn't be. But
true. Okay.
But I think maybe because we're twins, that may have something to play into it. But I definitely am a hermit. And that's why we get along. We both understand that when it's time we both need space, we go sit in our quiet space. And sometimes we'll have quiet space together. We just won't talk. I'll be watching her play the game, or I'll be editing. But her parents, her mom particularly, don't understand why we're the way that we are.
Oh my god, my mom will literally, if I say, yeah, I can't wait to stay in my room all day, she'll screw her face up. It's the funniest thing ever.
Oh my god.
She literally does that. Okay, wait. Before we get too far off topic, I just want to introduce the rising signs. Mine is in Aries, and hers is in Leo. I think that's so funny. Okay. Yeah, so we can, do you want to go back to talking about my mom, or do you want to...
Well, I want to talk about that real quick before we forget.
Go for it.
Okay, so her mom, every time we talk about it, she said it one time because her parents talk or like to have conversations and tell me about stuff that happened, tell me embarrassing stories about Kaylyn and her brother.
Yay!
And I take them in, I enjoy it. But sometimes I do run out of steam, like my social
battery.
Yeah, just my interaction with individuals that are not me have expired, and her mom recognizes it. And so there was one time she was like, okay, we've held her for an hour, and I know she's been entertaining us. And I thank her for it. We have to go let her do her introverted thing. And her face looked so sad, like so pitiful. She was like, you poor thing. And I was like, yeah, I'm going to go pace the floor. And I was so happy about it. And she was like, oh. And that's what she literally said, oh. And I was like, it's okay. I enjoy it.
That makes me want to do a whole episode about how my household adapted to the pandemic. Because she had a rough time. I said earlier my mom is a Sagittarius, but like... She's peak Sagittarius, yeah.
Which is funny that my moon is Sagittarius, and I am not like that at all.
No, you're not, but I think that's why it's easier for you to talk to her than it is for me.
that makes
anyway,
sense.
we're gonna leave that alone. So to get into my rising sign a little bit, when we talked about this before, I was talking mostly about how my anger came out, because I don't think that I have a very Leo-like anger, if that makes any sense to anybody. I'm not like, I don't feel, okay, what I specifically said last time was that people tend to take it as me being childish or like immature or whatever, even if the people that I'm getting angry with are reacting the same way. I'm not going to get too much into that because we got a little bit off topic when we were talking about that last time. So just to go into some traits, I don't know as much about the rising sign as I know about the other two, because that one didn't necessarily help me as much. But it says that Aries risings are straightforward and honest, active and enthusiastic, acts before thinking. I don't agree with that. Quick to anger, quick to get over it, jumps into projects, swift walkers. I don't agree with that either. Physical ailments of the head, like, okay, that's ridiculous. Sinus, headaches, and migraines. Independent and self-reliant, may seem impatient or rude, and success-driven. I kind of agree with most of that. That's a very general one I found on Google by Zodiac freaks, but on Pinterest, that's funny. There's only a few things on that I don't agree with though, so I think that's pretty good overall. I think before I act, but that might have more to do with my Virgo again. I don't walk that fast because I have short legs, and it's because, no, for real, listen, because when I was in like middle school and high school, almost all my friends were way taller than me, and they all walk really fucking fast because they just take longer strides. And after a certain point, I was like, I'm not gonna try and keep up with you niggas anymore. Like, I have to walk at a pace that feels comfortable for me, or I'm gonna chafe the fuck out my thighs, like hurt my ankles. There's just so much. Anyway, that's a stupid point to.
But no, I'm gonna interject really quick and say that it's not necessarily just because they have long legs that they're making longer strides. It also depends on their mindset and their quote-unquote laziness and comfort level. Because you know that my younger brother, who's taller than me, Ben, he's 6'3". He has longer legs than me, and he walks slow as fuck.
See, okay, you're right. I'm gonna agree with you because my brother also walks slow as hell, and
it annoys the shit out of me. But I tend to walk really, really fast. Kaylyn will even say that.
I will slow the fuck down. I'm not trying to keep up with you at some point.
The funny thing is, and you don't know this about me, is that my grandfather used to call me Slow Walking Jones because of how slow I used to walk. I used to walk extremely slow.
I believe that.
And then I started picking up when I was in college.
Yeah, man, college makes you walk fast. I used to walk for exercise in college, like just around the track on North Campus.
Back on track.
Anyway, right. Hopping back on track. So just some of the ways that I think the Aries rising kind of shows itself in my life. I definitely make up projects to get involved with. So like just now while we're actually recording this, I'm making Khairah and I have this thing going where we're trying to flat out, we're just trying to lose weight. Neither of us are like big or anything like that, but we're just not comfortable where we're at. She specifically wants to build muscle. I just want to get down to a specific weight. So we've been paying more attention to what we eat lately. We've been exercising. So I wanted something. I've made 3 graphics for that already. 3 things that I printed out for us to keep track of that. But I made a 3rd one while we're doing this to put in my planner. And just stuff like that. When I was in massage school, I made a whole pamphlet about like for the study guide. It was like a packet with each system of the body and what it meant with pictures and blah blah blah. But yeah, that's just an example of me getting into projects. I do get a lot of headaches, but I don't think that has anything to do with this. I think that's because I used to eat too many ramen noodles, and they're very high in sodium.
She's so stupid.
I'm also being dead ass serious. And then, okay, the only one that I really wanted to address out of this list is may seem impatient or rude. I don't think that.
No. I think that I need to address this one because it's from the outside looking in.
Right.
So before I address that one, I'm going to address why I think most of them are correct.
Okay.
So she is very straightforward, honest. Kaylyn is one of the most honest people I know, and that's one reason why I trust her. And so, and she will, particularly if she respects or trusts you, and if she likes you, she will try to be considerate about the way that she say things, and she'll say, wait a minute, I have to think about saying this. She will literally say that word for word and try to come up with the best way to say something, but she's not going to say anything at all, which means you should be worried.
That's what my mom taught me.
Or she's going to tell you the truth, and if she's in a bad mood, it's going to come out really, really blunt. But it's still going to make you think because it's going to be true. And not necessarily in all cases, but as true in her perspective of seeing things. So, like, we may have disagreements on, like, conversations one we had previously, and it was based on the way that I was explaining myself, and she said, well, based on the way that you told me, this is how I understood it, and that's the reason why I interpret it this way. But it takes someone who's straightforward and honest to say something like that, and to be able to communicate that. She's not active because she likes to be lazy.
I like being lazy. I do.
But her mind is very active in finding ways to be lazy. And she also thinks a lot. So active doesn't necessarily have to be just physically.
Like physically, yeah.
But mentally, yes. And she does get very bored and very like restless too, which is funny because she don't think that she is, but she does.
I mean, not in the same way that you do. Like, it's very different.
Well, no, I interpret it different. Like, because I get restless, I pace the floor. Yeah. I have to, like, right now, because I'm not pacing, because my voice is too low and we don't have mics, I have to sit down. So because I have to think, then I don't know if you've been paying attention, but I'm using my hands a lot. Yeah. And it's making me frustrated because I notice that I'm doing it, but I can't stop.
I don't think there's anything, nobody can see you. Yeah, you're fine.
But when I have to sit down, I have to use my hands. As far as being active, I don't know how we got on that, but being active, she's very active in her way of thinking of other things, and I think that ties into having other ideas and making projects. It's not just creating different pamphlets and stuff like that, because she did create an itinerary and all of that that she's going to be creating for me too.
Yep.
But it was something that she found and was like, oh, this would be cool. But she does that even with the podcast. And deciding, hey, I think I want to do this, and did you want to do it with me? Hey, I may possibly want to start a YouTube, shameless plug.
I'm dead.
Do you want to do this?
Hey, I want you to hop on Twitter. No.
She's still trying to convince me to get Twitter.
Yeah.
And she'd be like, oh, okay, I think this would be a cool idea. She's my photographer. I do model. And we were I wasn't doing that for a plug, but
might as well.
But she was taking my pictures, and she was like, okay, I think that it would be cool if we do this in a winter time and have a winter photo shoot, or if we have this idea or have this, and it comes out in a lot of different ways other than just creating lists. Mm-hmm. She has a lot of lists,
yes,
but she has other creative things that come out in projects that she created for herself, like creating what was the circle thing called in the backyard that you
a walking labyrinth.
The walking labyrinth, and she planned out how she wanted that to look
on graph paper.
That she has a collection of. And but she does that with a lot of different things. When we were protesting, she decided that, okay, instead of just being there making signs and organizing this part and helping her brother with organizing that, she decided, I want to make sure that I have chalk so we can put this stuff down. That is a creative outlet. So there's that. Act before thinking. Sometimes she will do that. I can't think of an example right now, but she will apologize afterwards, because she'll be like, okay, maybe I didn't think that through. But not all.
That's so rare that it happens.
Yeah, but more often than not, she thinks everything through, and I think that's where, like, like she said, the Virgo combats with it, because as I'm reading this is very specific without having anything else attached to it.
Yeah, it's very
so it has
Aries,
to be so it has to be modified based on what else you have that goes with it. Yes, she has anger.
Hey, listen.
But going to the
I was gonna say, I specifically wanted to I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I specifically wanted to address the impatient or rude thing, because I've had people in my family tell me like, oh, you gotta fix your resting bitch face and shit like that. And I know that's not just like an Aries trait or whatever, but I'm not friendly. Like, I'm not saying that like I'm not saying that like I won't. If someone starts a conversation with me, I will be into it, as far as long as we have things in common, if the energy is there and all that good stuff. But like, I'm not the type of person to start a conversation. I don't like when strangers talk to me like in parking lots or in restaurants and shit like that. I'm not that person.
But people will,
and that might be a Leo trait. You know what I mean? Just being attracted to whatever energy I got going on. But I don't like that. And then when people are saying things that I don't agree with, I will immediately get impatient. So it's not like I'm coming across that way. I am being impatient. So I wanted to address that, because sometimes, like, I'm at least never intentionally rude, but like Khairah said, I will be upfront and honest. If I don't want you to talk to me, I will probably tell you that. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not saying that to be rude. I feel like it's ruder for me to do the, oh, cool story, bro. Like, I'm not fucking listening. You know what I mean?
and I think that's where it's like the quick to get over it type thing comes in, because she will be like, I'm not interested in this. I'm done with it. And she will literally be done. It doesn't have to be brought up again. It's in the past. The past is in the past.
And I'm over it.
And she's over it. But then she said she's not nice.
I'm not. It's not that I'm not nice. I'm not friendly.
No. Here's what I'll say. You don't have patience for ignorance, and you don't. I'm trying to think of the right word. You don't like to waste your time. Is what it is. It's not necessarily that you're not friendly, because if someone comes up and they have something worth saying, you will listen and you don't have a problem with it. You may not always like it just because, you know, it's random people, but if it's something worth saying and it makes you think, then it's like, okay. Or if it's something where you have something to say to them because they need an opinion, I still don't like that you came up to me, but that doesn't necessarily mean you're friendly. It means you're cautious.
Okay. Ooh, interesting. Okay.
And then you're like, okay, but I have this that I can translate to you. And you don't have a problem with that. If someone comes up to you with stupid shit, get the fuck out my face. Please. And that's what that is.
Yeah.
And so, and I just read that as, I don't like to waste my time, so don't waste mine. So why waste each other's?
Nice save. I was being so harsh about it. Good going. Alright, moving on.
Did we talk about the last one?
The last, we don't need to.
Okay, what is it? Avoid it?
I'm dead. Because I don't feel like I'm very success driven. We skipped a lot of other stuff, but like, I don't do things in general. Huh?
Nothing.
No, I do get a lot of headaches, but
and sinus.
I don't have sinus headaches. It's usually allergies. Listen. Okay, but I don't feel like I'm very success driven, because it's not like I do things for the most part with the intention of being successful. Like,
what is your definition of success?
Recognition, specifically. So like, not saying awards and shit like that, but maybe, the Leo in me wants to say praise, but that's not quite it either. It's more like
recognition.
Yeah, like I know I did a good job, and I did such a good job that other people have to admit that I did as well. And I don't feel like I do things with that intention. Like, for massaging specifically, I don't really give a fuck. If I did a good job and you liked it, then I absolutely feel good about that. But more often than not, don't tell anybody, but I'm probably flipping people off while they're face down on the table just because I can. Yeah, just because I can.
Okay, let's do a redeeming quality real quick. As far as that,
Yeah.
she will flip you off, but she will do a good job, and she will recognize that there's elements or issues that's going on, and she will address it and let you know. And she's done that with multiple people and say, hey, I noticed that you twitched or whatever in this kind of way, and I feel like you have something going on with your hip. Do you want me to work on that? Twitch is not the right word. Obviously, I'm not a massage therapist. I am not trying to, demean it or anything like that. I just don't know the terminologies.
That was a good word.
But whatever it may be, or if she feels a certain energy in a certain area, she'd be like, okay, I feel like this is what is going on. She may not like necessarily doing it, but she does care, and that's the difference. And if she does put her all into whatever it is that she's doing, she may not feel like it. She may hate that she's doing it, because she's gonna naturally do it even if she doesn't want to. But she will do that. So she's by far not a terrible therapist as she's making herself seem out to be. But she, while she may not be that interested in doing it, she does put interest in doing it while she is in the moment of it.
I'm my best foot forward. I'm just not doing that with success as the intention.
With that being said, that's your definition of success. There has to be there's different definitions of what it means. Sometimes it's not necessarily for recognition, for you to recognize that I'm doing this. Success can be just doing it well. And what I can say is that you do that.
I do that.
Like with playing the Animal Crossing, or even with being a massage therapist, or making sure that we're staying on topic while we're on the podcast, and all of that. You want to make sure that when you're doing stuff, that you're doing it right, and you're doing it the best way that you can, which in that sense is a type of success. It doesn't necessarily have to be for recognition or monetary. That's why I specifically asked what you meant by success.
Okay.
It doesn't necessarily have to be that. It's very you still can have that perception of yourself if you choose to do that. I don't have that perception of you because I see it in a different way.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
And so, because my definition of success, depending on the situation, is different. If you want to talk about like me having a 9-to-5 job, my definition of success is you notice when I'm doing stuff right and let everybody else know that I'm doing it right. Whether that be the person that I'm talking to, or my supervisors, or whatever that may be, and to make decent money off of it. I definitely will get irritated if people get promotions before I do, because I know what I'm doing. But that being said, I'm not conceited, and I don't feel bad or like want to put other people down if they get that, because they may have definitely deserved it. But I also feel that I deserved it too. But
yeah, that's her rising sign. Exactly.
But on the other end, or the other spectrum, stuff that I do personally, like with my editing and stuff like that, my definition of success is making sure that it came out right. My authors liking the stuff that I put in with them, that it makes their story better. I won't get recognized necessarily as an editor once it's published. While it may be ran around in circles as far as different authors, worldwide or was nationally known, will not be the author's name. Not the editor's name. It will be the author.
Yeah.
The editor will only be known in the writer's circle type thing. And I don't need recognition for that. I don't want that. That's not my level or my definition of success in that particular area. So with that being said, your in personal success, for what I see with you, is that you want to make sure that you're the best at everything and anything that you do. You want to make sure that you're doing it right, like with making a different type of graphs and schedules for losing weight, and helping keep me on track with losing weight and stuff like that. And you want to make sure that you're doing it right, and I think that's success in its own.
Okay. So, I agree with that. I didn't think about it like that at all. And honestly, because I'm always multitasking, while you were saying all that, it made me want to talk about that for a whole 60-minute episode, because I think that to some extent I kind of still see that as being a need for recognition. If I'm doing it well just for fuck's sake, which I never am, I don't know, For the projects that I don't want to get too far into that, but for the projects that I do for myself, I'm not doing those the best that I can, and I feel like they could be done better, but I know that no one is really going to see it or critique it, so I'm not going to do the absolute best that I can. You know what I'm saying? Just shit like that I think that some part of success, maybe not on a deep level, but on a very surface level, is for recognition. We'll get into that later. I'm going to use that to segue into your rising sign. Great. And I mentioned this a little bit, like, very briefly earlier, but her rising sign is Leo, and that's always been really cool to the both of us because my sun sign is Leo. So we have 2 matching signs in our big 3.
And I think what's also interesting that we pointed out today is that while hers is like fire, earth, fire, mine is earth, fire, fire. So we have the equal amount of fire and earth in our zodiac. So
our big 3, and it's the same earth.
Yeah. And one of the same fire, so there's that.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and turn the laptop so you can read out your Leo traits. Let
me make sure I'm getting this right.
Projected.
Okay, so Leo rising is magnetic and attracts attention, self-aware of effect on others, prone to temper tantrums and jumping to conclusions, can appear bossy or dramatic, tend towards over-exaggeration, typically speak their mind, stubborn and tenacious. I can't spell or read, apparently. Forget that. May find it difficult to take advice, can have a problem overdoing things, including work.
Yeah.
Okay, that's fair. Very confident. We'll see.
I feel like you gotta have to be that kind of confident to be a model. Personal opinion.
Really?
Yeah. Because I told you,
I got comfortable in myself, and I guess that's confidence.
All right. Are there any things you want to dig into first?
Well, no, I'm just playing. Okay, so a lot of the stuff I really wasn't aware of just because I wasn't really self-aware of myself. And so it took a lot of a lot of people telling me that, oh, people are attracted to you, people are listening to what you have to say. Like, if you listen between me and Kaylyn has a lot of big words that and can pronounce stuff and all that.
Teacher.
I'm an English major and I don't know.
Teaching is different.
No,
yeah, because you took a lot of interesting classes. She literally just taught English for like 20 years. She used to change my essays because they weren't written right. Not tell me how to change it. She would just do it. And I would go back and
I wouldn't do that.
I would go back and delete it because it didn't sound like I wrote it. You know what I mean? Yeah. Anyway,
I wouldn't do that.
Back on topic.
I definitely. So for a long time, I didn't think that I was very eloquent with words, just because it didn't have like as my old English teacher used to say, the dollar words that other people had. Even my twin, the dollar words that he knew. I had 10-cent words, but I know how to use them. And that's what Kaylyn told me. She was like, you put thought into what you're saying, so your 10-cent words sound just as good as the dollar words. So there's that. But yes, I'm bossy. I'm a big sister, so I think that's where that came from. Yes, I can be bossy. I'm not bossy all the time, but I can be. True. I don't know if I'm necessarily dramatic. If I'm being dramatic, it's because I'm being funny or making fun of, like, with my siblings or something like that. So I don't necessarily see myself as being dramatic or exaggerated. I'm told that I speak my mind a lot.
I'm gonna let her do a whole episode where she just talks about, like, her grandfather or something, and I promise it'll fill the whole runtime and it'll all be gems, all worth listening to.
Are you sure?
I'm positive. I'll be here for the intro and the outro.
What does that have to do with me speaking my mind?
Because you got a lot to say.
But what does that have to do with speaking my mind, though?
I feel like if you didn't have a lot to speak of your mind, you would have less to say.
That still doesn't make sense.
Okay, all right.
Like when I think of speaking mind, it's like, oh, that's stupid. Like if somebody says something, I'm like, I respond and say that's stupid. That doesn't make sense.
I disagree. I feel like it's, oh, like the other day when we had a touchy conversation, and not in the middle of it, but like just kind of not out the blue necessarily, like not out the blue for what the conversation was, but because it was unprompted within the conversation, she just went into explaining what grief meant to her, like what overcoming it meant. And I feel like that's what actually speaking your mind means. Nobody, and this is gonna sound rude.
That I was thinking about it.
Yeah, I was okay. This is gonna sound rude on my end, but like it's not that I asked her to say that at all, but it perfectly fit into the conversation, and she felt like it had to be said, so she said it. I feel like that's what speaking your mind means, and like to some extent, you'll say the same thing about me, but for me, you consider that more honesty because I'm not necessarily saying things unprompted, you know what I mean? And I think that's the difference. Like that's why I think you'd be a good author, because you have things to say. I don't have shit to say until you ask me.
Well, I don't think it necessarily makes me a good author though, but I appreciate it.
It's because you have words. Like, okay, I've tried to sit down and write. I just don't have anything to say. You know what I mean? Like, I have a lot of interesting concepts. I have a lot of ideas. But when it comes to elaborating or extending those,
I guess that's where the bluntness come from, because it's just like, this is what needs to be said, done.
Right then and there. Exactly. Yeah, right then and there.
Okay, so
you are tenacious.
You will have to explain what that means. Okay. Excuse me for my ignorance. But we'll get to that in that point or whatever. May find it difficult. I do take it. Okay, here's the thing. I do find it hard to take advice because I don't like change. Yeah, and change makes me uncomfortable. I am very aware of that. I'm comfortable with admitting that now, and I do try to work on it. But with that being said, it doesn't mean I don't listen. I will listen to what people say. I will analyze it. I definitely will overthink it. And I will definitely take it internally in the worst way possible and be like, oh my God, am I really doing this? Like, you know, because I will take it very personally, and like personally, when I say personally, I mean reflect on my self-character a lot because of it. And I try not to say that because I don't want people to like censor their words around me, because I don't want that. I want the honesty so I can be, because I have no problem going back and asking questions. Yeah, exactly. And I will, like, because I've done it to Kaylyn like a lot of times. I will be like, okay, so the other day you said this. I'm like, I know it's like days later, but this really bothered me, and I wanted to understand what you meant by this because it makes me uncomfortable. But don't like sugarcoat what you mean or change what you mean. Just explain what you meant by it. Yeah. And I think that makes me more comfortable being honest around you. That's a side note, though. That's fair. But yeah, I have no problem with asking questions. So to answer or to say that, yes, I do find it hard to take advice, but it's but I definitely do listen and try to take it into account later on, and I'll think about it. Still may ignore it, but I'll at least think about it.
You integrated it, yeah. So last two things: can have a problem overdoing things.
I already talked about that.
Yeah, you definitely do. And very confident. I think that you have a kind of falsely cultivated idea of what confidence is, because I don't think you think you're confident. And like, I don't think, at least for me personally, in my experience, and I can't act like I'm 100% confident all the time, but it's not an all the time kind of thing, because there are going to be areas that you're more confident in, like wearing the clothes that you wear for modeling, and other times you're going to be really insecure, like,
I wear baggy clothes all the time.
No, man, like, you wear baggy clothes because they're comfortable, but you were out in public with your booty cheeks out, and I think that's a huge level of confidence.
That was me stepping out of my comfort zone, and
good night.
I explicitly said that.
But it's the fact that you did it. You know what I mean? That's what because it's not like it took much prompting. Nobody had to convince you. You came up with no. She came up with the outfit on her own. I just okayed it.
Before I saw the back, and I was like, oh my God, most of my ass is gonna be out. And she was like, are you gonna be comfortable with that? I said, I'm gonna try and step out of my comfort zone. And then I asked her about 5 times in the next 5 minutes, more than 5 times, maybe in the next 5 seconds, about it. Are you sure this is gonna be okay? And then, not to mention, when we looked at the photos, should I post this? Should I not? Should I post this?
But to counteract your point very thoroughly, if I might add, okay? You weren't, at least the way that you were portraying it to me, you weren't saying that because, like, you still put the clothes on. It didn't seem, you seem more concerned about how people will react to it than how you felt in it. And that's what the difference is. You're comfortable wearing those things because you're confident. Like, you're confident in the way that you carry yourself. You're confident in the way that you articulate your thoughts because you know who you are. Okay. You know what I mean? Those kind of things. I'm losing my voice a little bit. But I think that's why I said you specifically have a falsely cultivated idea of confidence. I think people think it's like how people describe Leos, where you're like up and like, look at my ass and shit like that. Like, no, you're not going to be like that because that's not your personality. That doesn't mean that you're not comfortable showing your ass. It just means you're not going to be up there clapping ass. You know what I mean? Like, you're not going to be twerking and putting out videos and shit like that. That's not your personality. And I think that that's the biggest difference there.
Okay, that's fair. Anything else you want to comment on?
Yes, I wanted to dive into stubborn and tenacious. I don't necessarily think that I would describe you as stubborn, but... And it's interesting that they say stubborn and tenacious. Tenacious usually means, like... It's another way, at least from my interpretation, to say success driven. So like that's but I think for being an editor and aspiring to have your own editing company, there's literally no one helping you do this. You literally found the tools to be an editor, even if that's just Google Docs or whatever. You figured that out on your own. You found authors on your own. You're doing this really 100% on you. You have a business, you know what I mean? You're not using it as much as you wish you could, but you're still doing all of that. You have plans for the future. That's because fair. You're tenacious.
I just feel like I'm not doing enough.
Exactly. Who doesn't? And we're at a point, especially with 2020 and the whole pandemic business and all that, where everybody feels like they got held back a little bit from whatever goals they have for this year. But I think that you haven't really been able to even start yet. Like you all of this has been dipping toes in the water. You haven't gotten to a point where you can plunge fully in. And I think that's going to be the make or break point. Not make or break, but like...
I think make or break. That would make sense.
Yeah, because, okay, I'm glad that makes sense. Because I feel like you haven't even really been able to test whether this is something that... Not that you can do, because you know you can do it, but if it's something that's going to be...
That's worth doing.
If you can make it what you want it. No, because it's going to be worth doing if you put your full effort into it, but you haven't been able or comfortable. I'm not going to say able. You haven't been comfortable enough to put your full effort into it. And it might have to be like those people on Twitter or Instagram who are like, I quit my job today, I'm making food. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Shit like that. I don't think it'll have to get to that point this year, because this year's almost over. But who knows what next year has.
She's plotting.
I am plotting. That's why we're doing the podcast and the YouTube and all that. We both have different goals. And I don't necessarily want to be in front of people all the time, but I feel like I got shit to say and I'm kind of funny. And I think
she's very funny.
I have my moments. But I think that overall, we both have shit that we need to get started on. And that was the point of the podcast. And
with that being said,
it's time to wrap up. We've approached our time limit and probably crossed it. So
and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, follow us on Instagram and Twitter I have Twitter. She doesn't yet. For me,
she thinks
Kaylyn was here with an underscore at the end. My name should be in the title. Don't ask me how to spell it. And for Khairah,
and then mine is Khairah. She will also put the spelling in there. If you spell it wrong, even after she put it in there, you may have problems.
We're gonna fight. I'm not gonna win, but that's not the point.
And I did pronounce it Khairah. If you want to know the correct way is Khairah. But if you can't do that, Khairah is fine. It's called Khairah _is_ here.
On Instagram.
On Instagram. That's all I got.
Alright.
And just so you know, Khairah's here.
Kaylyn was here.
And thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye.